Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Well, how many of you how many of you get to see the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin? We got taken down. I was on Nikki's channel, and boom! After 20 minutes, they smacked us down. So, but I did get to watch all of it, and I'm going to be going live with Nikki in about maybe a half an hour, 20 minutes. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Hi, Jax. How are you doing? White Lightning, Marilyn, Melinda. But I figured I'd reach out to everybody and do a little chit chat about this interview. And I typed my title real quick. I put Tucker schooled ? And I was going to put in there little hints because I think Putin dropped. And like I said, Trump is scheduled to speak in Nevada tonight. So Nikki's going to have that live, and I will jump from here to Nikki's channel for Mr. T's live broadcast. So that'll be fun. But I thought it was interesting. It was over 2 hours long, and Tucker got schooled a little bit, but I had to put my title in quick. Of course, what everybody noticed at the beginning was a history lesson that Putin put out there for the world as far as Russo history going back 1,100 years, over 1,000 years, which I've done in past broadcasts, discussed the history going back to the genesis of Russia itself, Mother Russia. So we got a recap of that from Putin. Let me see who all's in here. Wow, everybody! My screen was frozen. It came unfrozen. Now everybody's in here. Hi, Quilt. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Jax. Putin gave Tucker an envelope. Well. Gave him a little more than that. Hi, Marilyn. Gloria. Bubba, how you doing? Alan. Yeah, the media's going nuts. They want to charge him with espionage. Lone Wolf, how you doing? David, nice to see you. Oh, Putin took his watch off. Time is up. The screen I was watching on got frozen. I didn't get to see some of that little stuff, but Tucker was getting on his nerves a little bit there, but and there are a lot of questions I think are going to be on maybe a future interview. I was expecting questions about, but now in hindsight, it has been a little much for him to get into the BIO, labs that Russia has been making formal complaints about to the UN. So I don't know, maybe that's going to be in the future. But Tucker did ask him about this air quotes journalist Dershowitz over there. And I'll point out a little something I heard in there, and y'all might want to go back and check it. I'm going to be on live, so it's going to be hard for me to do anything. But it's funny that we had this today right after SCOTUS having its televised audio of the Colorado argument. And, Putin brought that up. He said it's just something we don't understand. And he said each state does their own thing. That's something we don't really understand how that's supposed to work. And frankly, neither do we. And frankly, neither did the Supreme Court, by the way of the questions that were happening. It was almost comical at the beginning. I think it was Justice Roberts, He said, well, it was a little a little insurrection, a big insurrection. I don't know. Was it a little one? He said, did you have a stack of papers somewhere that you look at and could say, well, this is why we can call it an insurrection? I mean, if you listen to the wording, hi, Nikki, how you doing? Hi, Debbie, cameraman. If you listen to the wording, it's kind of funny. You can watch it again on, you remember a kid that used to come up named Bahizi? Bahizi. Well, he got taken down, but he's back up on another channel. Oh, what is it called? Oh, I'll have to dag on it. But anyway, it's worth if you can watch, if you can listen to the arguments again. I'm pretty sure it's Roberts who refers to it as a kind of a little insurrection. And yeah, that's right, Georgia. I mean, Jax, that's right. Well, Georgia, you didn't. We were only up 20 minutes, and they knocked us out. So, Wendy, I mean, Nikki, you're gonna let me know when Mr. T actually goes up to speak, because I'm going to go ahead and keep going until Trump actually goes on screen, and then we'll jump to Nikki's to I'll be on panel at Nikki's, and we'll watch Mr. T, which I'm sure he'll talk about Vladimir Putin. But I thought it was important, and Putin obviously thought it was important to put out the history, how far back that the name Ukrainian really meant, I guess the translation would be the hinterlands or the backyard of Russia. That's what where the term Ukraine came from. And a lot of people have always thought that Ukraine was its own independent nation, and it's not recognized as a nation at the United Nations, so never has been. Always been part of Poland or Russia, whole or in part. So anyway, that aside, I found it interesting when, and I'll have to re-listen to it again. Tucker was asking about the prisoner over there, that journalist, asking Putin, well, would you let him go as a gesture of goodwill? And Putin said, I think we're all out of gestures. So we've had no reciprocation. We've made gestures of goodwill. We made gesture upon gesture upon gesture, and we're not getting anything back. So we're pretty much out of gestures, but we're open to it. But he did say that, you call him a journalist, you call whatever you want to call him. The fact of the matter was, according to Putin, he was surreptitiously gathering classified information and handing it out to special services for other countries. And he said, well, however you want to define that, it's espionage. It's espionage. You can't just, in all fairness, claim he's an innocent reporter. And I thought Tucker did good, but a lot of times he interrupted Putin with that kind of little cackle laugh he does while he's asking a question. He's laughing. And I don't think Putin appreciated that very much. But Putin was telling a story of related. He was going to tie it together with this journalist. He said, for instance, there was a person who was lining up young Russian soldiers, and he said, I really shouldn't tell the story, but I will. He said the guy was laying Russian soldiers down and running over their heads with a truck. And he said, what do you call that person? What do you call a person like that? Can you even call someone who does that human? And then he started talking about, then there was a person who caught up with this guy, right? This guy that was doing that to Russian soldiers. And he was telling the story, and Tucker interrupted him. I didn't care for that. I thought he had a little Sean Hannity going on. I would like to know what Putin's point was. And I believe what he was saying was, you can call somebody whatever you want, but it's their actions that define them. You call this guy a journalist, but if he was sneaking around, getting classified information and skulking around, giving it out, and they verified he worked for, quote, special services for the U.S., and a number of times he called out the C.I.A., right? So anyway, I thought that was interesting. And the reason I want some of you sleuths to listen to it again, it's towards the end when he's talking about this journalist. Putin said, that's not to say he worked for Monaco. Right away, my antennas went up, because he's giving little hints out. And you can bet that everybody that's involved in this suppression of Mr. T, this election interference, the subversion of his administration, okay? The people who are going to be charged in the end, you can bet that every single one of them was listening to this Putin interview. And Putin was talking about this air quotes journalist, and he said, I can't say that he was working for Monaco or not. That's yet to be determined. Or I'll leave that answer up to other people, or something of that effect. You think he was talking about that little micro state of Monaco? No, I don't think he was. Who do you all think he was talking about? And then your antennas will really go up. What did Trump say in some of his truths that I put out a couple of weeks ago? One was almost a month ago. Mentioned her a number of times. Said there was a real person behind running the Justice Department. Said was the person that was Merrick Garland's boss. And Merrick Garland is supposed to be the Attorney General. Lisa Monaco, the Assistant Attorney General. Did she used to work for the C.I.A.? Well, why not? Peter Strzok did. Peter Strzok, the one who put out the text message. We will stop him. We have an insurance policy. Huh? Think about it, folks. So, Lisa Monaco, I think that was a little hint put out there by Putin that they're on to who is pulling the levers of power. And you can tell that in his chats, he wasn't disrespectful, he wasn't rude, he wasn't mocking. But when asked about Biden, he said, no, I don't even remember the last time I talked to him. You can look it up. I mean, he said, what am I supposed to remember every date? I've got my own thing to do. I got my own country to run. We got our own lives to live over here. And in other words, Biden was inconsequential as far as any communications with Biden. There was not an important issue. Yeah, and Putin mentioned Tucker didn't get zipped into the CIA. That was about the Nord Stream question Tucker asked. And Putin said it's obvious who blew it up. You did. And Tucker said, no, I had an appointment that day or something like a hair appointment. No, I don't know. He said something like that. He said, well, you may have an alibi, but the CIA doesn't have an alibi. That was funny. And he also mentioned there's Nord Stream 2. He said all they got to do is turn the valve, open the valve, and they can get Russian gas. He said, why are the German people being denied access and having to spend a bunch of money? He said, who's doing that? Who is doing that? Who are these people? Okay. So I thought there was a lot of little hints and stuff in there. Who are these people? As far as who's not letting that pipeline get opened up, okay? That they know the C.I.A. blew it up. They're responsible for it. How he dropped the name Monaco. I'm recapping because I don't know when Trump is going to go live, and we're all going to jump to Nikki's channel. But how he mentioned the name Monaco, and how he mentioned how that journalist was working for specialty services, which is a diplomatic way of saying C.I.A. So I'm sure if I listen to it again, if we go over it again, we'll pick up a lot of good nuggets. And Joe being as minimized as he was, what in the world was the regular news services doing during this thing? Are they going to continue to suppress it? Or I don't know how many views Tucker got, or even if it was allowed to be on X itself, or if it was only shown on Tucker's, I guess, special channel. I don't know. So let me see who's in here. Hi, Gary. How you doing? Hi, Mary. How you doing? Camperman, Jersey Joe, Ronald. All the Republican senators are sounding off of Truth Social. Oh, well, I'm only on temporarily. The cat, how you doing? I'm only temporary right now, Gary, because Trump is supposed to go live sometime in the next, they say 9, it could mean 9:30. I don't know. But I figured if I waited till after Trump, there's no way I could go live. So I figured I'd squeeze this in and then jump over to Nikki's. And I just got a notice there. Julie, thank you for the Tucker update. You waiting for my synopsis. Thank you, Julie. Went to buy me a coffee. I appreciate it very much, Julie. And I appreciate everybody. I see a lot of people that's helped me in the past. Oh my goodness. I didn't knock myself out, did I? Let's see. Yeah, I'm still here. 332,000 views on X and growing. Jersey Joe watched on Tucker Carlson Network. Lou Valentino was nuked. I thought he came back up again. Oh, Gary saw it on Tucker's YouTube channel. That's right. Tucker's got his own YouTube. I wonder how many views he got on his YouTube channel. Because it's all going to add up, right? Along with Julie, I want to thank Christopher and Robin, Miss Mendersu, and Bev and Mike and Chris, William, Gary, and Cameron for helping last week. My last broadcast. I appreciate it. Anyway, I wonder how many views Tucker got on his YouTube platform on top of X and on top of his what is it called? TCN, Tucker Carlson Network. So a lot of people might have thought it was dragging, but when you really look at the story behind what he's speaking about, he touched on the dollar, he touched on BRICS, he talked about how the Russian economy used to use 50% of it US dollar, and that's down now to 13%. He said we were killing the dollar with our own hands. I was waiting for him to use the term candy wrappers. But he didn't do that. That might have been a little too much for it to be in his first interview. I think it was done in a way for him not to scare people too much. If it was kind of a cerebral historical talk at first and dragged a little bit, and maybe they would not suppress it as much, and future broadcasts might be coming out. But he ended up with discussing how the Ukrainians were destroying the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, and asking why would they be doing that? Because I was thinking, my gosh, if they get into the labs, right, BIO, if they get into what Putin has said multiple times in the past about people in the West, what he called the elite mindset, this time around, he's likened it to Satanism. I'm just saying like it is. I thought, gosh, what if they get into all that stuff? Well, he did in a way. He did in a way, because he brought up the persecution of the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, and he ended up the interview by saying that you can't divide the soul of a country. They might be able to physically divide people through arms and aggression and weapons, but you can't divide a nation's soul. And he also brought up where Tucker was saying, well, there's two different hemispheres. And he said, well, the brain has two different hemispheres. Putin brought that up, which I thought was very astute. He said the brain has two hemispheres, and they got to work together for you to be a healthy human being. One side of the brain does arithmetic and logic and things of this nature, and the other side does music, emotions. He said, but they have to work together. He says, as a matter of fact, a person who has a separation of the brain, right and left hemisphere, that's considered a very serious medical condition. And I thought that was a good way to put the question of harmony between the hemispheres and the world being able to function in a rational manner going forward. So, if somebody gave Putin a fair chance and listened to what he was saying without a curled lip and angry eyebrows, if they would just listen, and it may not interest them, the history of Russia going back to 900 AD, but it's important. I think Tucker learned a lot of things that he didn't know about how the Central Europe and Eastern Europe evolved, and it's very important so we can understand where they're coming from. I used to have a saying. I used to manage a group, and we would have meetings in the morning, and I'd tell them, always remember, you can't get people to go where you want them to go unless you know where they're coming from.
Okay. If you know where they're coming from, it's easier for you to get them to go where you want them to go. So that's the same thing here. And hopefully a lot of people will tune into it. And I'm certainly going to take a chance, opportunity, even though it's going to be busy, maybe over the weekend, Saturday, I might listen to it again so I can pick up any other nuggets that came out of there. He brought up the golden billion a couple of times, and he's referred to that. I have read reports from the Eastern Bloc on my channel that got nuked, okay, where he referred to the golden billion, which is what the Western powers consider themselves to be. And hey, BRICS is going to be the golden 5 billion or more, right? China 1.5 billion, India 1.5 billion, plus all the other countries that are joining BRICS. It's going to be a 5-to-1 ratio. Who's to say who's golden, right? So anyway, I thought all that was interesting, and the German people are going to be asking themselves, why don't they turn that valve on? All right, can you imagine what their heating bills are over there right now? And I didn't know that there was a Nord Stream 2 that was still functional, that somebody cut the valve off and won't deal with natural gas from Russia. And Putin said, even with all the sanctions they put on us, Russia had the #1 economy in Europe. Even with all the sanctions they put on. So why? He said it was highly incompetent of the decision makers over there in the EU or whoever's calling the shots for Germany's economy, highly incompetent for them to leave that valve off. So anyway, yeah, darting around at the beginning, what Putin did, I want to talk about at the start of my program, he gave a history lesson. Now, I don't know if he took his watch, put his watch on, or took it off, or picked his nose. I don't know. I couldn't see it. I was listening. Yeah. Let me just see what's going on in the chat. Hi, Hilarious. How you doing? Yeah. Yeah. Putin dropped a hint there that he knew about Tucker's family background. I mean, it's been on the American news that his father was worked for the CIA, but he also talked about Zelensky. Did you catch that? Where he said Zelensky's father was fought in World War II and against the Nazis, right? Or was politically against them. I'd say he's a little too young for a father to be in the World War II. But he said he spoke to Zelensky and called him by his first name. And he said, what are you thinking working with these Nazis? Because Tucker said, what's it going to take to stop this? And Putin said D-Nazi, okay, vacation, right? D-N-A-Z-I. Oh, he gave Tucker a letter, yeah. That's what somebody mentioned earlier. So anyway, he said denazification was the #1 thing. And he said he told Zelensky, your father stood against it. Your father fought against it. What are you doing? And he said, I can't presume to know his motivations. He said, but he's an intelligent person, Zelensky. And he said, it probably dawned on him that these people are dangerous. And he brought up how they had an agreement for peace, all written up in Istanbul. He brought that up numerous times. And he said numerous times that they gave preliminary initials signing off on the Istanbul agreement that would have put a stop to the conflict. And he said Boris Johnson put an end to it. And he said he's looking at his homegrown NAZIs, right? Then he's looking the other way at the resistance from the EU. Who knows, maybe threats from Boris Johnson, or him being a puppet for the European Union. And hey, he's probably a prisoner of that type of politics, dangerous politics. He said that the elite mindset is dominance. That they're dealing with change with weapons, threats, violence. And Zelensky's kind of swept up in it. He said, well, if you made a mistake, we're still here. Come on back, Hi, William. How you doing? Thanks for helping out with everything. I appreciate it very much, William. So I don't know if Trump is speaking now or if they're still waiting for him to come on. But we'll keep going until he does come on, and then I'm going to jump over to Nikki's channel, and Nikki can put a link in. Or is there a mistake? Is he really going to speak tonight? I don't know. In Nevada, Nikki really did good. She came in second to nobody, right? Oh, he's not on yet. Yeah, MS Motorsports, that's true about Elon. He brought up Elon. I thought it was interesting how he referred to him. He didn't give any hint of menacing or anything. He said, I don't think anybody can really tell Elon what to do, but like anything else, there has to be some kind of international consensus about limitations on this AI. And that was a bomb that a little bomb that Tucker tossed in after 2 hours. He comes up with a big issue, huge issue, with a very short question. What are we going to do about AI? Or something similar to that. There was some of the techniques and questions that were asked that I wasn't overly crazy about. But I look at this interview as a dipping the toe in the water, okay? And desensitizing the American people, Europeans, really. What, as Putin said, the Western media is nothing but propaganda. U.S. coming out of the U.S. and he said the U.S. has control over all of its media and most of Western Europe's media. He said you could attempt to counter it. He said, yeah, you could try. He said, but that would be prohibitive. The expense would be prohibitive. And, well, it's true. They're in control of every news station. They have influence over Hollywood. They have influence over commercials. Everything is pushing a message. Everything is pushing a message. And how are you going to stop that? So this is an attempt to wedge Putin into the conversation where people will turn away for a few minutes, well, in this case, a couple of hours, and listen and learn and find out the other side of the story. So, in a way, I'm very much glad that they capped the interview off with the discussion. Tucker said supernatural. He said, "Do you think there's supernatural things involved here? Any sign of God at work?" And I think Putin's response was what my thought was. No, what's happening as far as because he was talking about the change. There was change coming that the elites can't really handle without anything else but dominance and violence and force. And Tucker said, well, this change is supernatural. And my thought was, no, it's perfectly natural. It's perfectly natural for God to move people to step in, okay? There's nothing supernatural about it. Perfectly natural for people to resist this type of, what did Putin say a number of times? Boogeyman mentality that the elites put out, okay? And their abnormal obsession with certain behaviors that they try to push on to children. It is a natural effect for the world to reject that once it's exposed. So I don't know if that makes sense to you all, but I don't feel it's supernatural at all. I don't think God is supernatural. I think he's perfectly natural because he made everything. He's nature. He's as natural as can be. What's more natural than God? Hi, Doug. How you doing? Oh, the cat. You haven't watched the Super Bowl since then, huh? Yeah, I quit watching Super Bowl. Hi, Chris. How you doing? Thank you so much for helping out with Buy Me a Coffee. I was thanking everybody earlier. I'm glad you got to join us tonight. We're going to go over to Nikki's channel. She has a link up farther up in the chats. When Mr. T starts talking, that's where we're going to go to see if he's got anything to say that might tie in to this Tucker Putin interview. And I don't know if it was meant to have this Colorado ballot thing being discussed. How many times have you heard live the Supreme Court being broadcast arguments live? I don't remember. I don't remember them ever. I know they played recordings of their voices after arguments have been made. In some cases, not the whole thing, limited clips. But to do it live and unedited, and then a few hours after that, you've got Putin on, it was very, very interesting, I think. And just to go to that SCOTUS, how many of you all got to watch the SCOTUS arguments, arguments? It was laughable to me. And those both are things I'm going to watch again. The SCOTUS arguments and the Putin interview. I just found both of those things very intriguing. And guys, it's historical. It is just the beginning of of major historical events, even though we know we've been going through them for years. We've been aware, we've been awake, but now it's moving into where more and more the majority of people you run into are getting it, that just what Putin said, things are going to change. Just like my old friend used to say, he called me Junior. Even Rome didn't last, Junior, even Rome. That's what Putin brought up tonight. He said it took 500 years for Rome to collapse, but it did collapse. Things change. You have to adapt. And he likened that to Mother Russia, for lack of a better term, lasting for over 1,000 years. You know, you got to hang on to your principles. And what did he codify the principles as? Family unity, and values, and mores that hold a family together in a normal, healthy society. Those are the terms that he brought up. And he brought up the church. And he said that since 900, Prince Otto, was it, and his mother went from paganism to Christianity in 900 AD. He said that's been the anchor, basically the anchor of the Russo Empire. And he said, but we also recognize there are people of other faiths, and we respect them because of the commonality of family values and the structure and strength of a family unit. And he said that's the soul of a nation. So a lot of people who, you know, have preconceived notions about Putin, hearing him talk about the soul of a nation, hearing him talk about multiple faiths. Remember, Russia covers 11 time zones. You know, they've got Christians, they've got Muslims, they've got Buddhists, Hindus, they got all kinds of different religions in there. But there's a harmony. They all consider themselves Russian. So, yeah, he got into a lot of stuff. And is to do it justice, you know, I think it would take a second listening, at least from me. And I don't know, you know, I'm reading a little bit, you know, a couple of folks are bringing up some of the visual cues. You know, maybe there's something there I'll notice. Yeah, cameraman, I brought that up. That he said that was the number one thing, the denazification, right? He said that was a must. Yeah, I saw that where they said Biden had those papers and he's just, you know, too old and confused. Yeah, it's all right for him to do it, right? Yeah, Mary, he was trying to rush through the history. You know, hey, I guess he was on a time card. Just scrolling through the chat, see what's going on. But anyway, I thought it was fascinating, and was trying to read between the lines. He said with China, he's basically laying out the way it is, not the way he wants it to be, or this is what it's going to be. You know, he's saying, hey, it's the way it is. We got 1,000-mile border, 1,000-kilometer border with China. they've been our neighbor for, there we go, 1,000 years, thousands of years. And we get along. And he said, my good friend, Xi Jinping. You know, of course they're going to have discussions. What do they expect? And the notion of preventing, he was saying, oh, everybody's saying, oh, if you do this, Russia and China will get closer. If you do this, Russia and China are going to strengthen their ties. Their communications will be stronger. And he throws his hands up. He says, so what? What do they expect? And what really got me cracked me up too was he was talking about when they say, when's the last time you talked to Biden? And well, where do you think Boris Johnson is now? Because he brought up that Boris Johnson screwed up the Istanbul deal, and Putin said, where's Boris Johnson now? Who cares what he did? Where is he? He's not even on the world stage anymore. And then he said, don't you have anything better to do? Is that what he said? Let me see. I wrote that down. That might be a paraphrase. But he said, you'd think they would have something better to do. He said, where is it? You've got nothing better to do than come over to Ukraine, thousands of miles from where you live, and mess around. He said, you got American mercenaries. He said there was 2 groups of mercenaries. And I think the second largest was American mercenaries. And I forget who he said was, the Polish. Polish had the most mercenaries, and the second largest group of mercenaries, paid soldiers, were U.S. So I thought that was interesting. But hey, Tennessee, how you doing? But it was a very good question that Putin asked. You got nothing better to do? Come over here and mess around with our stuff? And he said, you know, he laid it out more than once, okay, about the progression of deterioration of the situation, ending up with the 2014 coup. And that was when they had problems with Crimea. That's when they had the Bloody Maiden. And I've told people in the past many times to look that up, what happened. Maidan, Maidan. And the attacks on Donbass after the Yanukovych, whatever his name was, his coup, where they had 3 rounds of elections in violation of the Ukrainian constitution. He pointed all that out. And they're going to blame Russia when they attacked Donbass with tanks and heavy weapons. So he brought it up, laid it out there very well. And there's not a lot to be argued. He said it would have been, he used an interesting term called culpable negligence. Culpable negligence not to respond to what was happening in Maidan and Donbass. I agree. How you doing, Ian? I don't think Tucker expected it to go that way, the way it went either. So I'm just looking through the chats. Yeah, I see the cats at soccer ball. Well, just because they said Biden was too old and all this stuff doesn't mean he's off the hook. Mr. T hearing on J6. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, not only the J6 hearing dropped off the docket, but Eileen Cannon really put the smackdown on Jack Smith. And, oh, that's the thing I want to talk about. They have a secret investigation with a code name. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you, folks. I got to cut this machine off here. The FBI has got a code name for an investigation that hadn't been reported on against Mr. T. And Eileen Cannon ordered that all that stuff be made public. That's not classified. In other words, you know, it's no state secrets. What are y'all doing, a grand jury? We should know about it. What ongoing investigation of Trump with the FBI? And also that he can no longer be putting in secret filings, document dumps, sealed documents. He can't do any of that stuff anymore. So I wonder what the FBI code name's going to be, folks. Let me see. That's right, Doug. Russia's huge. So all of them, all of them are looking at an uphill battle, to say the least, as far as dealing with Trump. This Colorado ballot thing, I mean, even Ketanji Brown was speaking in a manner so as to find Colorado's rationale for taking Trump off the ballot to be ridiculous, a ridiculous construct. So then you got Jack Smith is there's going to be a meeting this week with Trump's attorneys now and Eileen Cannon. Just Trump's attorneys and Eileen Cannon, from what I understand. She's already taken care of Jack Smith. Now it's Trump's attorney's going to go in there and see her about this documents case. But you've got what's her face? Letitia James, Judge N Moron. That's what I call him. Instead of N Goron, he's an N Moron. He's all up in arms now because they're going to try to railroad that executive that Trump had for years. They put him in jail for 100 days because he didn't declare his income, company perks. And I've likened that. If anybody comes in, listens to this broadcast later that doesn't like Trump and thinks that Trump's chief financial officer should have went to jail, well, remember this. He went to jail because he did not count company perks as income and pay taxes. You think about that for every time your company gave you pencils, gave you note paper, allowed you to use a company car, provided coffee and donuts. Okay, remember that. You could go to jail for 100 days too. If you didn't report that on your taxes, hell, they wanted to know what every time you get more than $600 in an entire year. They want to know where everything came from. So anyway, you got, and Guan is under pressure to come up with a decision, and his foundation for this case is so weak, and there are so many experts, legal experts, and I'm sure fellow judges and professors that are pounding him with what are you thinking about? What are you thinking? So, he's got to come up with some nutcase decision that is going to be appealed. And it's got to withstand that scrutiny, which it won't. And then you've got, what's the other one? E. Jean Carroll. You got Kaplan. That's going to appeal. Alvin Bragg, he's just floating around like a TURD in a punch bowl. And his case is about Stormy Daniels, which isn't going to amount to anything. Ridiculous. She owes Trump $500,000, and now they're going to try to find him guilty of a crime with Stormy Daniels. What? It's crazy. Oh, are we going? All right, well, I'll go over to Nikki's channel. All right, folks. Thank you, Nikki, for putting a link in to buy me a coffee. And thank you, Julie, for helping out with the channel this evening, help sponsor tonight's program. And I will get the link from Nikki and join you all over there on Nikki B's channel. And Nikki, you put your link in, so or you did. I must have missed it. But anyway, if you want to put it again, put it in again. And we will meet over at Nikki B's tonight so we can hear Mr. T rock and roll. All right, folks. So I'll be hi Donna, how you doing? Doug. Yeah, hit the like button on the way out the door. This is Mountain Man for now, over and out.